In today's session, I'm going to discuss the subjective answers from ISC pre-board examination question paper. The poem section, question 5. Referring closely to the poem Dover Beach, describe the moonlit scene. By referring closely to the poem Birches, say what the poet thinks when he sees bent birches and what is the actual reason for the birches to be in that state. How is the power of the music makers brought out in the poem The Music Makers? So I'll be discussing two answers carrying 5 marks each and one 10 marks answer. And regarding darkling thrush, I will make a completely separate video discussing subjective questions and answers from the darkling thrush. How to write a subjective answer? What is the ideal length? Well, I'll be discussing everything in today's video. The first question, referring closely to the poem Dover Beach, describe the moonlit scene as expressed by the poem at the beginning of the poem. This is a question carrying 5 marks. Always start writing your subjective answer with an appropriate introduction which will be closely related to the question asked. Dover Beach, written by Matthew Arnold, begins with a descriptive image of the harmonious, calm sea on a moonlit night, evoking a picture of tenderness and beauty. This is very important, evoking a picture of tenderness and beauty, a critical analysis, a critical comment. Although this is a 5 marks question, as students of class 12, you must be able to analyze the questions critically. You are expected to do that. Without beating around the bush, I have directly written about what has been asked in the question. This is a descriptive image of the harmonious calm sea on a moonlit night. And then the critical comment, very important, picture of tenderness and beauty. And change paragraphs. Make short paragraphs. And now the description with close reference to the text. Textual reference is compulsory. The sea is peaceful, number 1. It is high tide, number 2. And the reflection of the beautiful moon is seen in the waters of the Strait of Dover, number 3. The poet stands on Dover coast and looks across to France, where a small light can be seen briefly and then vanishes. This is the next point. If you read a good summary or a paraphrase, you will be able to answer these questions very easily. The chalky white cliffs of England. The next point. The chalky white cliffs of England stand imposing, grand and gleaming in the moonlight, overlooking the quiet inlet of the sea. Here you are supposed to describe the moonlit scene, and that's exactly what I have done here. The night breeze is soft and gentle. The poet calls his beloved to enjoy the night breeze. But where the waves of the sea meet, the land which looks blanched in the moonlight, a harsh grating sound is heard. The sound of the perpetual, advancing and retreating waves lapping the shore and flinging the tiny pebbles seems to convey the sound of unending sadness. Critically analyze it very quickly and briefly. The calm beginning. This is very important. Related to the description of the moonlit scene is the calm beginning and Arnold's treatment of nature. This suggests a complex situation of loss of faith, chaos and doubt in the Victorian age. The light that gleams and is gone and the glimmering of the cliffs seem to foretell that the peace and calm is unsteady and flickering. Now in this question, you must mention the symbolic significance of the scene. Although this is a 5 marks question, you will have to mention this briefly. The moon-blanched landscape and seascape are replaced by the darkling plain, very important. Highlighting the pessimism and melancholy of the poet, the moonlit scene foreshadows the duality in the poem. This is the conclusion. Although this is a 5 marks answer, you will have to provide an appropriate beginning and an appropriate conclusion. So the length of each answer is going to vary depending on the question. And just look at the length of this answer. This is a shorter answer because again I have adapted and adjusted my style according to this particular question. So don't worry about the length of your answers. Now, by referring closely to the poem Birches, say what the poet thinks when he sees bent birches. What is the actual reason for this state? 5 marks once again. Again, start with an introduction. In Robert Frost's Birches, whenever the speaker sees stooped birch trees which stand out against the surrounding upright trees, the speaker likes to imagine the specific answer. The speaker likes to imagine that they are bent this way because a young boy has been holding on to their thin upper branches and then with the flexible trees in hand swinging to the ground. This is the first part of the question, and then you will have to change the paragraph for the next part of the question, for the sub part. This is a brief answer, and now the sub part. The actual reason for the birches to be in that state is different. The speaker knows the truth. I have quoted truth. It's there in the poem. That swinging from the trees does not actually cause them to stay bent down the way ice storms do. During an ice storm, the strong winds and sleet would lie heavily on the branches and cause them to droop. This is the scientific explanation and this is the matter of fact explanation that is known to the poet, that is known to the speaker. And again, I have ended with an appropriate conclusion, just a single line. Here the poet introduces the theme of man and nature. This is a long answer, 10 marks answer from We Are the Music Makers. How is the power of the music makers brought out in the poem We Are the Music Makers? Here we'll have to focus on the impact of artists in society. The power of the music makers. You will have to mention who are the music makers and what role do they play in society. An introduction right in the beginning. The theme of Arthur O'Shaughnessy's We Are the Music Makers is that poets, musicians, authors and artists, although seemingly alienated from society, have a vital role to play in society through their works. So the introductory statement is directly related to the question. The examiner will be pleased. He or she will be under the impression that you have really understood the question. And another thing, always underline the name of a text or put the title within quotes. They are powerful and influence the events of the world. This is an interesting introduction. And next, always change paragraphs. The music makers and poets are visionaries who, through creative thought and imagination, foretell and cause great social change. The word visionaries is very, very important. Always mention visionaries, the term visionaries, whenever you're writing any answer from We Are the Music Makers. They shake the foundations of conventional thinking and are the movers and shakers of the world. Use small quotations. Do not quote wrongly. You will be penalized if you write wrong quotations. So to avoid Any reduction of marks, always break the lengthy quotations into smaller ones. Here I have quoted movers and shakers. Finished. They are the dreamers of dreams. And if you are asked about the role played by the artists, you will have to mention about their dreams. What kind of dreams do they have? They are the dreamers of dreams. Another quotation. They are the dreamers of dreams of a better life for all, the dream of a free society, the dreams of freedom, of equal rights for all. These dreams. Now, what is the significance of these dreams? These dreams bring about change by shaking us out of our complacency, out of our lethargy. So this is the significance of dreams and the purpose of their dreams. And now, examples from the text. Textual reference to substantiate the point, to show how they are of vital importance in society. The first example, with astonishing verse and songs that remain evergreen, deathless deities, singers and poets can inspire people and become instrumental in building up the stories of great cities of renown. Next, with their skill in weaving remarkable stories, they create the glory of an empire. The second stanza. Here I am basically writing about the second stanza. One person, through the skill of his imagination, can at will conquer a kingdom through his creative work. The power of the artist can be positive as well as destructive. This is a critical comment and this point must be there in your answer. Positive, destructive power. This is the impact that artists command over man and society. It becomes possible for a single person to conquer a crown. Another quotation. Whenever you're writing 10 marks answers, use shorter quotations. 2 or 3 quotations, and if you're not comfortable, don't use quotations, no problem. Their influence is far-reaching and transformational. Important. Instead of being just using art for art's sake. Now, if you get a question, we are the music makers, is about art for art's sake. No, this is not right. They do not create just for the sake of art. They have a role to play in society. Therefore, they are transformational. They are visionaries. Next, some more examples. O'Shaughnessy also speaks of the might, the power of the artist community from time immemorial. They were able to use their power in constructive and destructive accounts of legend and lore. In the past also, there were artists who brought about changes in society, who caused great social changes. He uses 2 biblical allusions. This point must also be there. He uses 2 biblical allusions to reinforce this point. With their skills of lamenting, they wove the tragedy that was the end of Nineveh. And in merriment and delight was written the account of the Tower of Babel. You had this question in your MCQ section as well. Lamenting, Nineveh, merriment, Tower of Babel. He also describes how earlier ages were overthrown to make place for a newer and better order. The myths woven and dreams spun are eternal, dying to be reborn again. A hint of their vision gives life to every new generation. The present is charged with the energy of past prophecies. And then the very important timelessness, the theme of timelessness of art. Art is timeless and eternal and hence Artists are so powerful. The conclusion: thus, the poet triumphantly celebrates. This is a celebration. This is a celebration of the sovereignty, the power of the artists, glorifying his role in society and the power of immortal art. My dear students, for a 10 marks answer, I have used 2 pages. So decide on your own. It will depend on your handwriting as well as time management. How much time do you have to write an answer at the examination hall? So there are many factors. Don't worry about all of them. Just focus on your preparation and read the text thoroughly.